Welcome to Against Medical Advice. I'm your host, Jimmy Diamond. The identity and location of the following recording has been changed to protect the anonymity and confidentiality of the clients. The views and opinions of speaker do not directly reflect those of the podcast. The following is a live recording of real people struggling with addiction and trying to seek recovery. This is for educational purposes only. We hope you enjoy.
Let's begin. So, last week we had an extensive, in-depth, totally crazy conversation on relationships. Do you guys remember that? Okay. We're going to switch gears from our discussion last week trying to figure out what is like a healthy relationship and stuff like that into the step work. The work that we find in the step working guide. And just kind of like work through that. We're going to answer these questions as a group. And then that is going to conclude the relationships discussion. Next week, Thursday, depending on how today goes, we'll see how Thursday goes. And I intend on doing that activity. So we will see what's up with that. Keep in mind that as we're talking about our relationships, it's tough because we're not focused on the other person, the other object, the other idea. We're focused on ourselves. And where our morals, right, wrong, good versus bad, where our decisions have gone against our morals. Last week, I know that last week we talked a lot about relationships with people. We talked a lot about relationships with objects. I wanted to touch a little bit more on the relationships with concepts, right? On Friday, I sat down with a woman who had an eating disorder and is recovering from an eating disorder and opened a gym that is 100% body positive driven. So the mirrors are tinted to promote you don't see all the flaws. There's no scales. There's no the cardio machines face outward. There's no cardio machines facing inward. So there's very few machines on the inside of the gym, so people aren't comparing themselves when they work out. A lot of body positive stuff, and it's kind of made me think, as I'm interviewing her, I was like, wow, well what if you take that idea and you apply it to recovery, you know what I mean? Is it the idea that my body is good regardless of the shape? And she was trying to stray away from the good or bad discussion, you know what I mean? But to feel like I enjoy my body regardless of what it looks like, and I kind of want to see what you guys' ideas on that is. And what do you think? Do you think that's good for someone to 100% think their body is healthy, although it's not? Is it they can have that mindset although they're engaging in healthy activities? What's your kind of belief on a body positive mindset? And keep in mind that I'm prompting this discussion on the discussion of relationship with concepts, just ideas, okay? The idea that this is or this is not, body positivity. Down, some downers.
You need a baseline. I said you need a baseline. You need something you don't want to go back to.
I mean, I can speak as somebody who had an eating disorder for a really long time, and I considered it was an addiction. I was addicted to watching the numbers on the scale drop and smaller clothing sizes, etc. And so you can take anything to an extreme. In my opinion, you can become complacent about your body, and you can become overly hyper aware and anorexia. So I think finding that happy medium, I think it's what is the better word is acceptance over just blind happiness. My body's great, but I'm a type 2 diabetic. So you can accept where you are and then do healthy things to let your body reach a status quo that is healthy.
Mm.
So
Okay.
yeah, so if you put it in the like addiction, like you can take recovery to an extreme and do way too much, or you can become complacent. Same thing, you find a happy medium in the middle, but that doesn't involve self-hatred. Just like working the steps, you don't have to hate yourself doing the steps. You can accept what you've done and then use that to move forward. I think the same thing is true for your body. So being in denial by like not ever going on a scale or not ever analyzing what you eat, I think is a little bit unfair to yourself, but like just finding that balance in the middle, I think.
Okay. Yep.
I felt like my whole life was out of control, and the only thing I could control was my weight. So I used to just like starve myself, because if everything else was out of control, I mean, what can I control in my life? My weight and what I want it to be. So like my addiction, I felt like I could control how much I could drink, and if I got drunk enough, like I could just escape. So even though my life was like spiraling out of control, there's two things I could, but I couldn't. So.
Okay, thank you for sharing.
I think there's a big difference between being honest with yourself about where you're at, your physical health. Like me personally, I think your mental health does have a lot to do with your physical health as well. And if your physical health is in shambles, your mental health is going to struggle too. But I also think there's a thin line between pushing yourself to be better and like holding yourself accountable and comparing yourself to others, because in my opinion, like comparison is the thief of joy. If you're constantly like comparing yourself to other people's bodies and how they look, and you want to look that way, like that's not healthy. You know what I mean? But being real with yourself and saying, okay, this is where I'm at, this is where I want to be, these are the actions I need to take to get to where I want to be, I think that's healthy. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I definitely agree with that, and also what she said too. Then you have to find the middle ground. But what he said is very, very. I compare myself, like when I'm at the gym, I compare myself with other people, like Buffy or whatever, and I'm like, okay, I need to stop that because I'm not gonna get there. You know, like I can't compare myself. Like you said, comparison from others is like thief of joy. That's definitely it. When I see others and I'm like, oh my god, I can't get that, and not be like sad or depressed or whatever, and then I would stop working out. And that really relates to me a lot. And so I have to ground myself saying, hey, like you're comparing yourself to others, you should compare to yourself, you know. I have to do that, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting bigger. Anytime I do that, that's fine. But I definitely agree with that.
How do you think ideas about, because I mean, it sounds like humility is a requirement. You know what I mean? Like if you, like when it comes to a healthy perspective on positive whatever, whether it's body type, recovery, anything, there has to be some sort of balance achieved, you know? So is there an idea or a concept about balancing addiction in your life, right? Like how do you respond to the concept of like things associated with recovery? What are some concepts associated with recovery? Because real quick, think about the relationship, a healthy relationship, what we talked about last week, communication, trust, honesty, things like that. How do I apply that healthy type of relationship, that time, effort, and self with an idea?
Well, like you're saying with your sobriety and with your addiction, you have to understand that you have a problem and that thoughts around got too many going on, but that you have the issue. You have to have a healthy balance and I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought.
No, you're basically saying like you gotta have a balance, from what I'm hearing, you gotta have a balanced idea of yourself to like utilize the best tools and stuff like that, from what I'm understanding, from what I got out of it.
You can apply honesty, you can apply wisdom to recovery and all you want, but you don't want to be burned out. You know, like you don't want to be focused on all recovery all the time. every single day, that's gonna be like, fuck, you know, it's gonna, I don't know.
So how do I balance my relationship with ideas?
By being honest with yourself, maybe?
Think about that though, right? Like I can balance a relationship, like I'll hang out with you guys for a couple hours, I'll go hang out with my family. That's balancing relationships. How do I balance my relationship with a concept or an idea? Is it possible that maybe an idea or a concept is out of balance in your head and you're thinking too much, you're spending too much of a relationship with a specific idea? How does that impact someone's life?
Shitty.
Holy shit. That's what you're thinking right now. Right? Like, what if I don't build how much of a relationship have you really had with recovery, dude? The concept of recovery, the idea of recovery. What does it mean to like dedicate time? I'm in recovery, right? I'm gonna be in recovery for the next hour. Like I'm focused on my recovery for the next 3 hours, right? Not only that, but I'm gonna put 100% effort into keeping this idea in the forefront of my focus for the next 3 hours. How do I do that? Maybe I have to remove distractions so that I can keep this idea in my head. Because if I don't have this relationship with this idea, it's not gonna be there. It's not gonna be there. I'm not going to adopt the concept, the idea, because I'm not spending time, effort, or self. Think about time, right? How much time are you putting into the concept that I'm in recovery, right? Is that enough time? Should you put more time? Should you put less time? I don't know. Is 5 minutes enough time? When do I put is it more optimal for me to put myself in the mindset that I'm in recovery at the very beginning of when I wake up? Or is it better to put my mind in that state later on?
Well, now it came back to me. Balance of recovery and how you live your life. Like when I wake up in the morning, I know that, you know, that it's one day at a time, that I'm in recovery every day. And you know, we can't, because we have lives. Like my creative caseload last week was about my schedule, and I have a full schedule, but I always have to be, you know, aware of my recovery. It never leaves me. I mean, so I think of my recovery probably about 90% of the time that I'm actually up doing stuff, you know, where I'm going, what I'm doing, you know. I was in an area where I did most of my drug and alcohol this weekend or yesterday, and you know, it was I had the balance of my recovery. I had to have it 100% on my mind. You know what I'm saying? Even though I was working on some cars, I knew where I was and what the possibility is. And so to have that balance of, you know, my recovery and, you know, my life, you have to just, it depends on the situation, but I always wake up with my recovery on my mind from the day, you know, from the time I wake up, and then when I get ready to, you know, go to sleep after my day, I think about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes and then yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, if the question is how do you measure, you know, how do you balance your relationship with ideas? Well, ideas and concepts drive behaviors and ultimately yield results. So when the behaviors and results are out of whack or not in balance, then I think you have to revisit your relationship with that idea and how you implement that idea or concept.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How do you respond when people confront your ideas?
Well, it depends on what, I mean, that's kind of a loaded question in the sense that, it depends on what they're confronting. But, for me, I have to know what my, goals are and what I want that outcome to be.
Mm-hmm.
And, if I'm being confronted about it, I'll say, well, look, this is what I'm trying to achieve. Now, I almost have to tune some of that stuff out because I have to be selfish enough in my recovery to know that, the goal, at least for me, is abstinence. And whatever I have to do every day and whatever ideas and concepts I have to implement, then that's what I have to do. And, if you don't like it, I'm sorry.
And I agree with you, and it is a loaded question because it's each case is unique. You know what I mean? Each goal I have and attaining that goal is unique in how it's going to impact me and impact other people. And I kind of need to be aware of that, and my lack of awareness of that can cause problems.
Well, as you were saying that, I was thinking about if my wife asked me a question about that compared to somebody, just an acquaintance. I owe her some sort of explanation just because of the nature of my relationship with her.
Mm-hmm.
Some guy who's questioning me just to be an asshole is different.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is just ideas, okay? So let's talk about the idea of addiction, okay? How do you feel? Because now we're kind of taking all of these shares and combining it into like one circumstance, right? The denial plays a point. We'll start where we were at the beginning, right? So somewhere along the way, a new idea may be prompted in you, and we may respond with denial. How, you can only imagine the type of problems that can come with denying a problem, So we respond maybe with denial to an idea or acceptance to an idea, and that's going to bring us down to little possibilities, right? What could happen from the idea of accepting that I'm an addict? Or not accepting that I'm an addict? That's just the idea that I embody that.
Yeah. And accepting the idea that I'm an addict leads to, it can lead to both positive and negative, reactions to it. Positive is what we're doing here, that, we're seeking help. Some people that, we've talked about it before, that some people, when they respond negatively to that idea, then they dig a hole deeper. They say, well, I'm an addict, and they victimize themselves. So, the relationship between those, the negative and positive of how you view the idea is I think what you're trying to get us to look at is
the context.
Yeah, the context of what situation we're in.
Yeah, and it's fucking complex, yes.
I was just gonna say, it's almost not fair to continue to think on a new idea without exposing yourself to it, right? You can make up whatever you want in your head about the idea, but you have to in some way expose yourself to that idea externally before you can really understand it. Like addiction, coming to rehab, before you come in your head you have the idea of what it's going to be like, but you're not really going to know how to process it or understand what's going on unless you do the thing.
So now you're looking at the difference between being connected to an idea or being in the state of being connected to an idea. Right? I mean, some people, it's one thing to accept that I'm an addict. It's another thing to go through the process of getting out of that. And what is the state that I'm going to embody when going through the process of treatment and working through that. And all those ideas play a part in the next fucking decision, dude. That all plays an idea on who I'm going to call next. Who am I going to talk to next? This all plays a part in it. So now, as we talk about, there's a plug right there.
I know, I just didn't want that close.
Oh, okay.
Is it cool right here?
Yeah, hey man, dude, this is your group, not mine.
You think the mic's gonna pick it up?
It for sure will. I can move it. You know what I mean? I'll just move it like over here. All right. So now, oh wait. All right, cool. So now, moving the idea of having a relationship with concepts. Am I spending time thinking of this idea? Am I putting an effort, like an actual effort? Like you're talking about the effort. Like, am I putting an effort into staying with this idea, keeping this idea in the forefront of my mind? And am I doing it, or is it like guided? Like this is guided idea processing that I'm like putting you guys through, right? Do I have the ability to think like this on my own? Do I have the ability to like attain and acquire things that can prompt this thought process in me, you know? Maybe that's why when we say I am an addict and I need to put myself into this and more effort, then we make the decision to do that. And I don't think it's a surprise that people who stay in recovery for a while, like spend some time in that idea. The same with the people who, think about this. In active addiction, how's your relationship with the idea that I'm going to get high today?
It's an obsession.
It's an obsession. Like, can we even get that out of our head? It's impossible until I get the thing or the feeling, right? Is recovery the same way? You know, say in active addiction, like he was sharing, maybe I spent 90% of my ideas and my mental state focused on the getting and using and finding ways and means to get more. And maybe for a period of time, I need to go the other way and put 90% of my time and effort into like recovery. Going back to the analogy in the beginning, let's say someone is super morbidly obese, okay? Or the other end, you know what I mean? They are dangerously close and having major health issues as a result of anorexia. One of two ends, right? Should they put 100% focus into like getting themselves out of that problem for a period of time and then maybe finding a balance? Is that right? Most of us are not doctors. I am not a doctor for sure. I'm just like using basic kind of like understanding of knowledge to build like a good plan for recovery, right?
I feel like you have to have insight like to your emotional health, your physical health, and your mental health. You have to have all three if you want to get like okay with yourself.
But if it starts as a thought or a concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without any action or work, then it just stays a concept, right? It doesn't actually, there's nothing to it.
I'm never going to get better.
Right. It's just a thought.
Or I'll start tomorrow. Like how many times I said that in active addiction. Oh, well, tomorrow I'll be sober.
Or just one drink.
It takes doing the work for some time for it to actually turn into anything more than a concept.
So is there a difference? This is fucking dope. So is there a difference between destructive thoughts and constructive thoughts?
Yes.
For sure.
Are destructive thoughts easier?
For sure.
Are constructive thoughts more difficult?
I think the thought isn't difficult. It's the action that
Like to keep it generating?
To what you do with that thought. So like a thought becomes an idea, becomes a belief, becomes an action, becomes a reaction. But at any point in that process, you can nip it in the bud and say, oh, well, I'll start tomorrow. But then tomorrow comes, oh, well, I don't want to, so I'll start tomorrow. Instead of making that action actually happen.
Twice today.
Or, I'm never going to be able to get a hand, be able to be in recovery. Like, you're just stuck in such a rut. Like, you've felt so many negative feelings for so long. It's like having to fight it to be positive. It just feels like a chore. because you have to work at it. It's easier to just shit on yourself and actually want something better.
And there's the opposite too, though, like when we're in active addiction where we convince ourselves of a positive idea is going to be the result of us going and using when it ends up, the exposure to it is the negative part.
Something interesting I've heard, and I do believe there's truth in it. Some people say, like, I asked somebody, you know, how do you have such high self-esteem, self-confidence? And they said, I used to not. But then one day I just woke up and said, I'm going to act, like, fake it till you make it. You just start doing things, and eventually that whole linear process can go in reverse. So you can actually alter your thoughts by doing the actions first.
So this is where that idea of body positivity comes in. You see what I'm saying? Is it healthy to have 100% positive mindset on what I'm doing? Or is it healthy to have some level of constructive criticism, we'll call it, ideas coming in? You know what I mean? And how do I balance those? Because my own history shows that I have a really good pattern of not building things but destroying them. Like, think about how long it takes to build a building. I talk about this all the time. The amount of time, effort, people it goes into building a building, and how easy it is to just destroy one. Bro, you could love yourself. You could do all this work on loving yourself and everything like that, and you get exposed to one idea, and all of that could come crumbling down. And that's a horrifying place to be, you know? How do I prevent myself from crumbling down by the introduction of a brand new idea, right?
Inner peace, knowing who you are, inner peace. Like, fighting for your own peace is so hard, but that's what you have to have, like, if you don't want to let the world break you.
How the fuck do we do that?
You gotta just, I don't know, one day at a time of just saying, fuck them. Like,
you gotta one, go through, and you gotta literally go through at all of them. Not all of them, but most of them. Like, your ideas. Like, where did I start thinking this? Where did this start happening? That inventory. And when you're able to look at your inventory, identify right ideas, right response to right ideas, wrong response to right ideas, right response to, you know what I mean? All that shit. Then maybe you have an algorithm on your behavior when you're thinking. And then maybe ideas, we're going to look at a video on meditation today. Like, how do I begin meditating? Meditation is a great way to, like, sit with your thoughts and, like, evaluate them and look at them. And a lot of people don't like that. They live a life of constant distraction, because when boredom hits, that's where these thoughts come in, and they don't like these thoughts, so they spend a whole lifetime avoiding them, right?
trying to escape.
Or vice versa, maybe they love these ideas, and I like sitting with them. I like calling myself a piece of shit. You know what I mean? There's people out there who like that, dude. And there's some people out there, who are a piece of shit, who are like, I'm the best. And there's people out there who are like, I'm not the best. And they are amazing people, dude. And they need to see that within themselves. And if they don't, think about this. How do you get impacted by interacting with someone who has like a lot of really healthy, good ideas with themselves, but like doesn't talk like that? So maybe you have someone who like has the character of someone who's like healthy and loves themselves, but they don't. How does that impact you?
I'm frustrated with it.
Like, yo, what the fuck? I want what you have, bitch. How are you gonna be like that? You know what I mean? How do you not step into that role? Another thing about relationships that I want to talk about is that grief comes when the relationship is no longer within reach. So the idea of a relationship is it's within reach. Whatever person, object, or idea you have, you know where to get it, dude. And you know how long it's gonna take to get it. You know how the relationship is gonna be and all of that. When someone passes away, when a divorce happens, when a object is removed, you have no idea when that's gonna come back. And it's really scary when that's not gonna come back. That's where grief starts setting in. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't know where, like right now I know my family's an hour away. You know what I mean? I know where everyone's at. I know how long to get there and everything like that. If I caught wind that one of my kids passed away, the fear of never being close to them again is what's scary. And the idea that the only way for me to attain that like closeness is like through memories, through video, you know what I mean? It's like a scary place to be. And some people have that same relationship with objects. Misplacing your phone, right? Causes extreme anxiety for some people. Some people don't even go to treatment because the treatment center says that you're not allowed to have your phone. And they're like, I'm not going there. Right? Yes.
I said that.
Now think about this, right? How does it make you feel knowing that the idea that getting high is fun and awesome and amazing is never going to come back into your brain again?
Kind of
Yeah,
defeating.
it's weird.
Unless you put a lot of fucking effort into it.
Yeah,
You're gonna, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I always have that thought. I will never be able to drink. I will never be able to smoke, whatever, do drugs, whatever. But the consequences outweighs more than the fun for me. I have more consequences than I had fun with alcohol and drugs.
So-
friendship, losing stuff, yeah.
So how is your relationship with that idea? Is it good? Is it healthy? Is it not healthy? Think about that relationship since the moment you discovered addiction. And think about it like any other relationship. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's good. It's a healthy thoughts that I have, because the more I think about it, the more consequence I think about it, the better I will steer away from that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's positive, I believe.
Yep. Okay. Anybody else?
I feel like I'm always, no matter how long I have sobriety or how focused I am, how much work I'm doing, I'm still gonna have thoughts in my head romanticizing drinking and using drugs. Like those thoughts are always, and for me personally, those thoughts are always gonna creep in because I did have a lot of fucking fun drinking and using drugs for a long time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, like, when I first got into the rooms, I knew nothing about AA. I didn't know any of the steps or anything. Like, when they first said that, you know, the only solution is, like, sobriety forever, I was like, what? Like, I'm never going to be able to drink or use drugs again? Like, that doesn't sound right. And so, even though I never want to use or drink again, like, I'm still going to have those thoughts. They're gonna creep in at some point.
And in the past, the relationship with those thoughts has been stronger than the relationship with the thoughts of recovery.
Yeah.
For me, I'm always gonna remember like how fun it was to get high. I never can seem to remember how fucking miserable it was. Like,
Exactly.
my brain always wants to tell me how good, how fun, all this shit. Never wants to remind me like how fucking terrible it was.
Mm.
Especially the longer you get away from
Yeah.
using and drinking. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
have to
The
really
more,
You have
dig deep.
amnesia.
the more romantic it gets.
Yeah, I have to really dig deep to remember how shitty it was, because it just, when it pops up, it just reminds me, like, hey, why aren't you doing this? It was so fun, you know, you're missing out.
Now, when you do one question, and then I want to see what you guys say, Adam. When you do dig that deep, and you do get into that relationship, what do you do then? My brain likes to think about the happy times and all that, but your brain is gonna make you think about the bad times. Do you have that relationship? Are you like, hey, bad times? Are you like, no, fuck those bad times, good times? You know what I mean? And it's like, you gotta have that relationship. Like, you can't, that's an unavoidable relationship inside of your own fucking head, dude. That has to be managed, not divorced, not like ran off, and like, you gotta like manage that, or else that relationship is gonna take over. Yes. Adam.
Oh, I was just gonna share. Over the weekend, I think it was Saturday night, I went to a meeting with Brooke, and I picked up my 30-day shift.
Let's go.
And like, I felt, it was not instantly, but right afterwards, I was like in the car, I'm like, I felt high almost. And I mean, it was crazy. And then we went out to eat with some people from the meeting, and I felt like I got even higher. And it was like the same thing that I would feel when I used, really. It was crazy.
And it took you 30 days to get that.
Yeah.
Versus, what, 10 fucking minutes? You know what I mean?
Right. Not even. Yeah.
Not even, bro. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, my 30 days, I cried in the van on the way home. I fucking bawled my eyes out like a little fucking... I couldn't believe it, dude. I got 30 fucking days sober? That's insane. How the fuck did I do that?
I've never had it. I've
Did you
had
ever
2
crash
weeks is
after?
the longest.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro. Congratulations. Yes.
First of all, I was at that meeting Saturday night, and he didn't mention my name, so I just wanted to bring it up. Secondly, yesterday afternoon, I was running some errands, and it was just gorgeous outside. Weather was perfect, and I just thought to myself, man, you know, prior to January 19th, I'm on a patio with my buddies. We're drinking. And I said, but I have to remember that at the end of that day, I felt like shit, and something would happen at the house, and all of that. But the next step that I went to, I was thinking about how angry I was, because I had just gotten back from seeing my family on Friday night, and I was just not happy about coming back and leaving them again. And I said, the whole reason you're having, you know, these, you have to continue on, you know, down this path, because, you know, those days on the patio, you end up right back here where you're angry about not being with your family.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, not only was it just the remembrance of, yeah, I had a good time during the day, I felt like shit that night and the next day, and, you know, shit would blow up. But now I'm, you know, in sober living and gone through detox and rehab, and that has pulled me away from my family. So the fact that, you know, I was mad about having to leave once again was really sort of, I had to remind, if I don't want to feel this way again, I have to continue down this path.
Do you think, you trying to share? Do you think that, how long sober you got now?
I'm about 36 days, 37.
36 days ago, was that an idea that would have automatically came in?
What
The idea that, like, man, this is incredible, this moment, I'm sober, and I don't want to leave my family, and in order for me to continue, I have to, like, accept what I'm doing now and, like, keep on working so that I can make sure this never happens again. Was that idea there 30 days ago? 2 weeks ago? Yo, you see what I'm saying? The power of one idea that's not even, and I don't even think you chose to adopt that idea. I think that idea is automatic as a result of what you're doing and exposing yourself to and putting as much time, effort, and self into keeping this idea in my fucking life. And that's your own relationship coming back to help you, dude. Right? With a fucking idea. Are you seeing this? Yes, BK.
I was gonna say, I kind of can relate to you. On Saturday night, we were having dinner He wasn't there.
Okay, sure.
My agent called me. She's like, "Hey, I got you audition. Come fly to LA. Blah blah blah." And I was like, "Okay, when is it?" And she's like, "Wednesday and Thursday. It's a 2-day film." And I was like, "Okay, I can't do that because I'm in PHP, right?" And I got really, really fucking upset. And I told Jade, and I'm like, "Fuck, like, fucking PHP. Why do I do this every time?" Because if I were sober, if I didn't relapse, I could have gotten that. But I'm here, you know, trying to work on myself because of my relapse. And so I was upset. I was like, fuck this. And the drinking and blah, blah, blah. The thoughts came up to me. I had to spit it out to get rid of the way. Like, I'll have to talk to them. I have to talk to Jade. And I'm like, hey, this happening. I'm upset right now. But I don't know. That's how I dealt with it.
Do you think that in that time you could have called someone who could have influenced your decisions to make a different one?
I could. I could call my other friends who is not sober, and they could have told me to leave this place. That's a better way to do. Yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm saying? So not only is it like, okay, I have to protect this idea that I have, make sure it keeps on coming up in my head and building this relationship with it, but I have to protect it from certain people who may influence this idea. And it's not it's not like bad people. You know what I mean? These may be good people that just for today we have to, you know, not go down that route or whatever it is, just because I got to go to IOP tomorrow. You know what I mean? Something like that. And then you got objects that are going to influence your ideas, you know? Like this in general has caused some change in our brains that may, like I said, forever ruin getting high, dude. So how much do you have to drink to start thinking it's a good idea to drink again, dude?
There's no doubt.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and some people live their whole life trying to avoid those ideas, avoid those thoughts, avoid like the reality of what their fucking life is, whether it's being in recovery, whether it's someone passing away, whether it's like staying sober at some positive event. Like, it doesn't matter what it is, just that idea has to be present. And if it's not present, I don't have a hand up against my addiction. My addiction's got a hand up against me because I can't identify these thoughts, dude. Okay, any questions on that? And like, how long do you spend time with this? How intense is the thought, right? That's like an actual question when you're like evaluating for suicide. Do you have a plan? Yo, like, that's a real fucking question. Hey, I'm thinking about getting high. Okay, do you have a plan? Like, do you have a plan? Like, what is your plan to do that? And some people don't want to share that. And they lie. And, dude, problems happen as a result of that. Just the idea of having a plan could be totally different than not, you know? So if you're out there with the idea that I'm going to get high this way, it's going to be okay this way, yada, 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 the best way to get over that is to share it. Going right back to step one. Okay. Now we're going to take a break for about 10 minutes or so. And then when we come back, we're going to begin looking at where our choices, beliefs, and behaviors have resulted in unhealthy or destructive relationships. Okay, so our choices around people, places, objects, our beliefs around people, places, objects, people, objects, concepts, our choices, beliefs, and behaviors around people, objects, and concepts impact our emotions and could possibly end up in destructive, unhealthy relationships. So we're not going to look at their choices. We're not going to look at they believe this, or if they didn't do this. It's all about us and how is my belief, my behavior, and my choices making this problem. Okay, taking a break and come on back.
May I have a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
What's the last word? Fearless.
Inventory.
Inventory.
Oh, fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Let's begin. Relationships. We need to write about our relationships in the fourth step. All of our relationships, not just the romantic ones, so that we can find out where our choices, beliefs, and behaviors have resulted in unhealthy or destructive relationships. We need to look at our relationships with relatives, spouses or partners, friends and former friends, co-workers and former co-workers, neighbors, people from school, people from clubs and civic organizations, and the organizations themselves, authority figures such as police, institutions, and anyone or anything else we can possibly think of. We should examine our relationship also with a higher power. We may be tempted to skip the relationships that didn't last long, a one-night sexual involvement, for instance, or perhaps an argument with a teacher whose class we then dropped. But these relationships are important too. If we think of it or have feelings about it, it's inventory material. Jimmy, how far back do I go? Bro, that's up to you. Go as far back as you want to go. You know, what kind of level of freedom do you want? And even examine our relationship with a higher power. Is that a concept?
It could be.
Whoa! Is my higher power, am I in like a domestic relationship with my higher power? My higher power smites me. This is all because that's what God wants. Or is it like he saved me? I don't know what your relationship with your higher power is. Maybe your higher power isn't even a God. Maybe it is tangible. Maybe it's other people. Something like that. But let's begin. What conflicts in my personality make it difficult for me to maintain friendships and or romantic relationships? Conflicts in my personality.
Perfectionism.
Perfectionism. What was it?
No, that's saying I'm repeating what you said.
Oh.
It makes it difficult.
What conflicts in my personality make it difficult for me to maintain friendships and or romantic relationships? So we have perfectionism.
Trust issues.
Ooh.
Fear of abandonment.
Envy.
Good enough.
Yeah, like jealousy.
So, go ahead.
My ego.
Ego. High ego, low ego?
Both.
I'm a dick.
Yeah.
Everyone's always like, oh my god, Jimmy's so nice, he's the best. But then you like sit down with me and all I do is catch wreck on you. I'm just like, bro, you're such a fucking idiot, man.
Disingenuity.
What?
Disingenuity.
Ingenuity?
Being disingenuous.
Oh. Disingenuous, yeah. Conflict, was it?
Like avoidance of conflict.
Now, wait. Let's talk about some of these for a second. You may appear as if your personality embodies the ability to manage this. And what happens is this is implemented in the relationship, and you appear as someone who doesn't avoid confrontation, and now you're like running away. What the fuck, dude? Right? Like, you appear as someone, I can share good things happening in my life, but you're jealous? You're saying things like, must be nice. It's like, dude, how about we celebrate my win? Aren't you my friend, dude? Right? This conflict in our personality. Trust issues. Whoa, you don't trust me? Or, whoa, I can't trust you? When was this gonna come out? Right? This is a conflict, not only in friendships, maybe romantic relationships. You ever hear that? When like someone like, I hear this like thing that people say when they're in a relationship, like after 3 months, everything kind of like starts coming out. The crazy starts coming out, you know what I'm saying? And people are unable to contain their true personality once the relationship begins to grow to a certain level of intimacy. You see what I'm saying? Friendships, romantic relationships, co-workers, you know what I'm saying? Like, and going back to those ideas and objects even, right? Conflict in my personality. Like, bro, you believe that? What? You don't look like someone who fucking believes that, dude. What? You know what I mean? That is what we like to call in the fucking recovery field a character defect. Holy shit, you think like that, dude? That's a conflict. You don't look like someone who thinks like that. You don't look like someone who has a relationship with drugs and alcohol to that degree. That's a conflict in my personality. Maybe even the way that like my personality changes in relationship to these things. Yeah, man, we're all going out. Cool, that's sick. Yeah, I'm excited to go out for your birthday, man. That's awesome. I'm gonna get some cocaine. It's like, what? Maybe someone's like, yes! You know what I mean? That's maybe what someone might hope for, you know? But most of the time, you are not received with that type of, okay. How has my fear... What's that?
Depends on your friends.
Depends on your friends, for sure. Depends on the relationships. How has my fear of being hurt affected my friendships and romantic relationships? Your fear of being hurt. What's that?
Terribly.
Terribly? How does it work in your relationships?
Push everyone away.
Ooh, pushing people away? So how does your fear, like, show in relationships? You know what I mean?
When the pattern changes with someone, like, you finally feel like you can start to be vulnerable with them, but then they start to back up because it's too serious a commitment for them.
How can you tell? I mean, I'm sure you're not, like, saying something to them and they're like, yeah, totally.
Make less effort, don't call or text as much, they just don't show as much emotion or give as much as they used to.
Is that not only with romantic relationships, but also friendships?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? How has my fear of being hurt affected my friendships and romantic relationships?
I do it first.
Ooh. Do it first?
Yeah.
So describe that process.
Well, so I tend to, this isn't talking romantic specifically, but like date emotionally unavailable people who say they don't want to be in a relationship. They don't want to do that. So what do I do? Challenge accepted.
Yes.
I get them into the relationship, but then I leave. So it's like a coping mechanism of sorts.
Okay.
It's like I don't even necessarily want to be in a relationship. I want that affirmation, and then once I've achieved it, I'm like, okay, mission accomplished. Before you hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you. Like,
Anybody else do that?
it's fucked up. I know. I'm just saying.
No, I say, hey, there's. Do you think? Wait, have you always thought like that?
Yes.
Or was there a time where you had?
Yes.
Listen. Or was there a time or a relationship where you had given everything and then had some outcome cause you to start
Yes.
behaving like that?
Yes. If I want to get deep about it, yeah.
Yeah, we want to get fucking deep, dude.
Yes, I
We're
think
getting
that's what
deep,
it stems
girl.
from.
So was that an early relationship?
Yeah, like the most meaningful one.
Dude.
Yeah.
Where we really practice vulnerability. I would have spent the rest of my life with this person, dude. And then something happened. And then what happened is we never look at our own part in that relationship. Dude, some of us don't even have the ability. You're talking, like, when I was in that situation, dude, I was like 19, I was 18, I don't fucking know. I don't have the knowledge to evaluate this introspectively, you know what I mean? Or even look at it. I don't even deal with it. No one says, Jimmy, go to therapy for that. I'm a kid who's 19, 18 years old. Like, let's just move on to the next one. Just take that baggage. And then what happens is, I hide my baggage, we have a relationship, and then I'm like, okay, so, I got this fucking suitcase, dude. And I'm just gonna open this up, and I'm gonna throw it on you, dude. And it's like, instead of like showing, like maybe I could be like, hey, so this is my favorite t-shirt. I love this t-shirt. I got this t-shirt, yada, yada, yada. You know what I mean? And maybe my girl doesn't want to see my t-shirt, but I hate myself. And this is how I hate myself. This is what I do to hate myself. And thank you for accepting that. You know what I mean? And you just kind of, that's what baggage is. And you don't have to do that baggage unfolding with your partner, but that baggage does have to be looked at. And you gotta like manage it in a way that doesn't harm other people. And running away from it or getting angry over like one of those 4 responses in the fear state may not be the very response, because these are very complex relationships, very complex friendships and romantic relationships and ideas. So, and even think about that. Are there romantic ideas? Like glorifying drug use early on is a romantic relationship with drugs and alcohol. And that's sexy. You know what I mean? That's like, I want that, So I'm the one who has to like remove the romanticization of these ideas that I have, or else I may pursue them, dude. That's just my thought. How have I sacrificed platonic friendships in favor of romantic relationships, or vice versa? How have I sacrificed friendships, platonic friendships in favor of romantic relationships, or vice versa?
I had a boyfriend who I said, my friends come first before you.
Wait, you had a boyfriend and you said what?
Well, he said, I want to put you as a priority in the relationship, but I said, my friends come first.
Wow. That makes me feel good. Right? And not saying that that's like wrong or right, you know what I mean? But it's just kind of like evaluating the situation. Not saying there's any right or wrong way. The only person who knows what's the right and wrong way for you to behave in these past situations is you. Your past situations stand on your morals, the foundation of what you believe is right and wrong. Does addiction remove your ability to have friendships? Like, does your addiction remove your ability to sacrifice platonic friendships in favor of romantic relationships in a healthy way? Because maybe that's healthy, you know what I mean? I can't spend all the time with my boys, can't spend all the time with my girl, finding some sort of balance. Can addiction distort that balance?
Oh yeah, definitely. You want to be around people that are, doing the same thing you are and making you comfortable. I mean, you don't want to be around a spouse or a partner that, is going to be looking at you sideways because you're getting high or you're high. So you lean toward, what makes you comfortable.
Even friends. Don't want to be around friends who aren't using like I'm using or whatever the case may be.
I said when I first shared in Detox that alcohol for me was my boyfriend for many years, and the guys I dated were side pieces. If they stood in the way of my relationship with alcohol, I got rid of them. Because priorities. And I think that we are powerless over whether it's a boyfriend, our wife, our husband, our kids, our job, our whatever. Alcohol takes priority. Drugs just eventually take priority. Because think about this, dude. We got people who don't approve of our using. And that's what causes us to maybe start going out, right? What's my relationship with that idea? She comes in and says, you gotta stop drinking. You gotta do something like that. It's like, what? What? Who the, you know what I mean? Just that idea being presented in my head is like, who are you, dude?
You're not my mother.
You know what I mean? And then it's like,
what if it's your mother?
But then it's like, do I sit with that idea? Do I build Oh, do I sacrifice that relationship? I don't. Even though these people say that I have a problem with this relationship, I don't sacrifice that relationship. I sacrifice the relationship with people. And that's where some of these problems occur. We keep on having these problems in our relationships where drugs or alcohol is a major, one of the only factors causing unmanageability, destruction, and unhealthiness. And I consistently choose that relationship over my other relationships. In what ways did I compulsively seek relationships? Compulsively. Anybody have a dating app in here?
Is this number 4?
1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. In what ways did I compulsively seek relationships? Swipe, 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 swipe. Anybody in here one of those people who thinks they're gonna meet their partner for life at the grocery store? I'm not saying you're not gonna. You know what I mean? But I used to think that every time I went to the grocery store.
I'd rather meet somebody in person than website.
I used to literally think that I'm gonna meet my wife at the grocery store. We're both gonna go for the same thing.
Meet each other.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be like, oh, hey, you can have it. And she's gonna be like, oh, cool tattoos. Dang, you got tattoos. Oh, who knows, right? That was like my idea. Dude, is it unmanageable for me to go into a grocery store, not focus on what I'm buying, but more focus on who I'm gonna date that day? Is that a problem, dude? Every single day, imagine every single day going to the grocery store disappointed. Not because I got the wrong food, but because I didn't meet my wife.
Expectation versus reality.
Yo, you see what I'm saying? What do you think happens to that person's sense of self?
Your self-esteem.
Bro, prolonged, you know what I mean? Imagine that every time you go to the grocery store. Imagine every single time you get high knowing you're causing pain to someone. Like, what does that do to someone? When they're powerless over it. They don't even know they're doing it. You know what I mean? In what ways have my relationships with family? So now we're talking about specific relationships. Family. How many people are in my family, right? I got my girl, my kids, my parents, cousins,
Second cousins.
uncles, aunts, second cousins. I got friends who I guess I would call family. I got my girl's family, all these relationships with family, okay? There's a lot, I say that to just extend how much family is actually fucking out there. Do I sometimes feel as though we're locked into repeating the same patterns over and over without any hope?
Insanity.
What are those patterns?
For me to relapse, maybe 7 months. I can't pass 7 months. I don't know why. I think I'm cursed or something.
7-month relapse. Anybody else got patterns?
Codependency.
Codependent on them?
Yeah, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm. What are these patterns we identify? In what ways, in my relationship with my family, do I sometimes feel as though we're locked into repeating the same patterns over and over without any hope of change?
I really was locked into that pattern with my husband, with my girls, especially in the last few years. Anything, husband and I were talking about it. Weekends were all about me drinking, and it was like he joined me just to spend time with me. And then with my girls, I'd get drunk and then I'd try to have conversations with them and they wouldn't want to, and I'd get all upset, but then I wouldn't want to talk about it. And I also basically told them I planned on dying by drinking. And so, and my youngest told me, she's in college this weekend, she's like, I kind of accepted it, because you weren't interested in changing. So I was like, I was getting there, and then all of a sudden I did decide to change. but, or, realized how bad I was. So, it's harsh. I know I said those things, and it's like, it's going to take a long time. Not long time. It's just going to take a lot of time to build that trust back up, or for them to not feel as hurt.
It's worth it, though.
Oh, I know it's worth it. I mean, all I told her, of course she's asking me, what step are you on? I'm like, well, I'm kind of stuck on step 3. You're not further along? I mean, no. It's taking time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was, oh shit, where was I going with this? I was like, all I can do right now, because she was worried about the apologies and stuff. Because I told them early on, I was like, I'm not going to give you an apology until it's the right amends, And it could take 6 months, a year, I don't know. And I told her, I was like, all I can do right now is stay sober today. That's me, my living amends. That's me telling you I am changing. So you're just it's day by day. You'll see the change, changes in me and changes in how you feel.
Have there been moments thank you for sharing. Have there been moments in your relationships so far where your family, even yourself, have this anticipation or expectation for the pattern to repeat and it doesn't?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, yeah, because it was like the weekend I went home, like, as much as I had a thought here and there, we had family night, which was just games and stuff like that, which, I mean, it's been forever to have family night without me drinking. I mean, every holiday, every, vacation, I mean, it's bad for at least the last 4 years. So me being sober for a family get together was a very different thing.
How did family respond? Did you feel the difference?
Love.
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
Everybody, it was really fun. We all loved it. And we were like, we have to keep doing this, even if it's just once a month. But, I mean, and my other daughter, she cried because she's scared about the same thing. Like, is this going to be, she wants it to be our new family dynamic or our relationship, but she's scared too. All my family's has a healthy fear. I have a healthy fear about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep saying the same. I can only take care of today. That's what I'm like. I hate that cheesy line, but that's all I can do. And if it's the only thing I did today is stay sober, I've done the best I can.
I agree. And I think that later on in the future, the relationship may require more. Maybe an amends, you know what I mean? Maybe something like that.
I have amends to do. That's not even...
But just for today, I think you're crushing it. And you're already noticing that these patterns are changing, and the change of these patterns is having a positive result, right? Like, imagine if I threw this fucking marker and it just kept going. There was no gravity. You'd be like, what? You know what I mean? That's what it's like when we stay sober for the first time at family events. It's like, you're not drinking. This is insane. I don't have to worry about you. You know what I mean? I don't have to have a pep talk.
Or no. And I
before
did
we
things
get
like
there.
go down the stairs, and I had to go over a doggy door. And they're like, Mom, wait. And I'm like, dude, I'm not drunk. I can actually handle this right now. I mean, I was joking, but,
That's a pattern, though.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that's not their fault.
No, it's not their
That's our fault for drinking, causing that pattern onto them. If you were if they were to do their inventory and look at their relationship with you, there's a period of time where you may have tried to get over doggy doors when you were drunk and fell flat on your face, so they have faith that she can't. You know what I mean? So there's this whole prevention and preventative play in as a result of our drinking.
I noticed since I've been back home in recent past that we have more stairs. There used to be a gap there, and now there's another stair.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to be flippant.
No, it's no. I was flipping. No, and I was walking down the hill. I had the same
Right.
thing. Like, Mom, hey, or everybody. I'm sober. I can see the ground. I know where the holes are. You know,
Right.
which is you can make an analogy out of that too.
No, but I
it
mean,
was
I
really
feel you,
just
but, you know,
yeah.
and
Don't worry, I'm not gonna fall
what's-
over.
it's just insane to talk about. Isn't it? I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I go, wow, I just said that out loud.
Mm.
Now, I've thought about it, but to actually say it in front of other humans and go, hey, you know, I just said that. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail anything.
No, dude, that's.
But when you said that, I thought, yeah.
Yeah, I relate with that a lot. Because then it's tough because I'm having to come face to face with the results of my addiction. You know what I mean? That
Oh, and it sucks.
it sucks, dude. And it's a whole new level of acceptance and willingness to change, and yeah, it sucks, but that is a part of the process, and it's a beautiful part of the process if you know just for today you're staying sober. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't know you're gonna stay sober and someone makes a joke, that might throw me off, dude. You know what I mean? If I'm on a debate, I don't know if I'm gonna stay sober today, and someone's like, yeah, be careful getting over the fucking railing, dude. You know what I mean? You might get drunk and fall. I may be like, yo, fuck you, dude. You know what I mean? And just, and it's like, no, fuck you, dude, for putting this fear into me. Mom, dad, whatever the case may be, you're the one. You know what I mean? And I have to accept that and say, I'm sorry. I'm doing the most I can today to not fall over this, and if I just have to stay sober to do that, that's what I'm gonna do. You know what I mean? And that is a tough level of acceptance that we all can acquire through making sense of the damage caused in our life today from our addiction. Yes.
You said something about family gathering and they see you and they're like, oh, you're sober. Congratulations, blah, 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 right? But also, I had the family / friends, when they see me sober, they're like, oh, just wait until he fucks up. You know, they're there, like, just wait, you'll see. And that pissed me off.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Know that?
I mean, I think it's because of our actions that they expect that. It's, you know what I mean? Like, we've proven time and time again that is the reality.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Did they have that same feeling the first time I went to rehab?
They're probably more hopeful.
You know what I mean? Yeah. The first time we went, maybe they had a lot different of a response to the second, third, fourth, who knows how many times people have been. You know what I mean? And that's not just like going to treatment. That could be just like literally making the declaration that I am in recovery. You know what I'm saying? Ask yourself that. How many times have you declared to be in recovery, in recovery and in active addiction, with yielding negative results? In active addiction, dude, how many times have I been like, no, I'm sober, and just threw that away? And the same thing with treatment. It's like, dude, I can't be mad at where my relationship is at. I have to accept that maybe I had a part in playing this. Maybe I did. Not, and by the way, there's no guarantee that you had a part, but maybe looking at it and thinking, yeah, I did or I didn't, there's value in there, right? That humility that we're talking about. Okay, I'm not 100% this side, I'm not 100% that side. I'm a little in between. Okay, I'm not fucking falling over, stumbling everywhere. I'm not 7 years fucking sober, but come on, dude. We can work with what we got here, and we can start making this relationship a little bit better, whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship, or a family. my part in perpetuating these patterns?
I mean, it's I guess kind of my fault that it's already been done before, and they expect that shit to happen again. So I'm definitely part of the consequence.
Or just being like unwilling or scared to change.
Unwilling, scared to change. Fear.
I mean, it's just your actions. You know what I mean? It's like the choices you're making and the actions you're taking daily.
Like when we make those choices, there's causation, right? And my choices have a direct influence on the positive or negative consequences that result. That's fucking crazy. Even doing nothing can yield results. Like when you do absolutely nothing, you still get result. That's doing something. How have I avoided intimacy with friends, partners, or spouses and family? How have I avoided intimacy with friends, partners, spouses, and family? You got a face on like, dude. How do you know how do you know you're about to have an intimate conversation with one of them?
Pull you to the side.
Yeah. Pull you to the side.
So BK, let's talk.
Yo, let's talk.
I act like I'm sick. I can't do it.
Dude, like one of those one-on-one interactions. It's real quiet. It's not like, hey, come over here. It's like, hey, yo, come here for a second. We're gonna talk, dude. You know? How have you avoided those intimate conversations?
I would rather have Mike Tyson bite my ear off.
How else? What do you do to avoid? Number one, bro, ready? What is it?
You go get high.
Go get high?
Isolate.
Get drunk
Isolate.
as Cooter Brown.
Dude, I used to smoke a fucking cigarette. Somebody would say, hey, we need to talk, and I'd be like, I'm gonna go smoke a cig real quick. And then we'll talk. Yeah, and then you just boogie, dude. Right?
I would drive away. I would.
How do you feel when someone doesn't come up to you like saying, hey, we need to talk, but instead they like text that to you?
Oh, that's almost as bad.
Or they call you and you know what it's gonna be. You know what I mean?
It'd be one word out of their mouth, the tone or whatever.
Now, what do you do when in active addiction when you're having that conversation? So now
I'm driving to the liquor store.
Yo, think about that though, right? Like, now I can't, it's like I know that this is gonna be an intimate conversation. My phone is ringing, I answer the phone, and they're like, hey Jimmy, I really want to talk to you.
Anxiety right there.
What do I do, dude?
I'm driving.
Can't I'm driving? Yeah. You avoid it, you
Lie.
push it off.
I lied and said that there was a hurricane coming through my town. So I couldn't talk.
That's a good one. Right? With friends.
Did at least a tropical storm come in?
Yeah, I lied and said that there was a hurricane coming, and so I was gonna have bad reception.
So
and
like
it was blue skies all week.
So with a
and they live 30 minutes away.
So with a phone, like a text message, something like that, a little bit easier to avoid it. But what about when you are like face to face, dude?
Make an excuse.
Put up a wall.
They bully. They act like a bitch and a half. I don't want to leave.
Or turn it to them. Like, reverse it.
I make a joke out of it.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I turn it into a big fucking joke, dude. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? That's fucking crazy, dude. So it's like a weird, super intense gaslighting situation. Like people are like authentically concerned about me.
I saw a friend of mine in college. I still can't believe it, but his girlfriend came up and said, Jimmy Chappelle, how do I know you're not drunk right now? He goes, how do I know you're not drunk? And she just, it's like somebody went, switch off, and she walked off.
Wow.
I thought that was a superpower. I mean, but that's all he said. But it just, for some reason, it just shut her down, and she couldn't.
She
I don't
froze.
know. I mean,
Yeah.
it zapped her brain or
Deuces.
something.
Do you, how do you respond when
Freaking
people
out,
are
but
trying to
it's
get intimate with you about their own struggles?
Oh, they're like empathetic.
Okay.
Right.
So like when someone comes to you and they're like, man, I'm really struggling right now. Like, how do you respond to that?
I feel bad. I'll feel bad.
I think I'm
People pleaser,
responsible.
so okay with that.
I'm like,
Yeah, because then we're talking about their shit, not ours.
Not our shit.
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah. I don't like that though.
No?
See, I'm different. I'm like, get the fuck away from me. I in active addiction, bro.
Or when someone cries, do you start laughing?
No, I am
God.
like,
Okay, Hurricane Girl.
when someone starts, like, I had a friend of mine who I was the first person he ever told, like, he did heroin. And I remember being like, yo, you stay over there, dog. Like, I'm not trying to, that's intense, man. I'm gonna go. I gotta go hang out with these friends, you know what I mean? Like, I always would avoid it. Like, people would be intimate with me, and I would just be like, man, fuck that, dude. Come on, let's get back into the party. You know what I mean? Like, I just did not have, I didn't want to sit in it, dude. I don't like, back then I did not like feeling sad. So if you are sad, I don't want to feel that. So if we're hanging out and you're sad, I'm going to have to feel that. And the whole reason I get high is to avoid that feeling. You know what I mean? So now I'm hanging out with you, and now I want to get high even more. It's like, want to go get high? You know what I mean? Like, that's my solution to people being, like, intimate with me in active addiction.
I don't know if you guys seen this, kind of relates to yours, like you said. There's a TikTok, her husband came in drunk late, like 2 o'clock, and she's like, are you drunk? And he's like, no. And then she like, can you tell the time? And he like turned around, he's like, I'm not drunk.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that one. Yeah.
Like, that's straight lying.
Yeah, yeah. Have I had problems making commitments?
Oh, hell yeah.
Describe your problem making commitments.
Go ahead, Sarah Grace.
Yeah. We know you want to
Like,
share.
I just laugh. Like, I just can't do it. That's ew. Like, why the fuck would you put yourself down like that? I don't be tied to nothing. Boo! I laughed in this kid's face for like 20 minutes.
Why is it difficult for you to...
I want to be independent. I don't want to depend on nobody. Boo.
Okay.
That's ew.
So you're not committed to people?
No.
Are you committed to any objects?
No, I don't even, like, I love when my family sends me letters. I don't even open them. That's horrible, but I don't.
Mm-hmm. Are there any ideas you have problems committing to?
Oh yeah, I got a problem with like rule following and like authority and all that. Like, I've got to be free. I don't even wear socks. That's too much of a commitment for me. I want my toes free. Like, I don't get tied down to anything.
What kind of problems?
I was wondering, did
not
your feet stunk?
I have these in two pairs of these just in case, like, I want to try on the new ones so they smell better.
Oh, hell yeah. It's very proactive.
That's called a workaround.
Yes. Like, when we did that maze thing, I was taking shortcuts. Blind.
Let's say there's someone out there who has a problem. Are you good with short-term commitments versus long-term commitments? Like, can you commit to watch a movie?
No, I play Sudoku while I watch TV.
Isn't that nuts, right? Think about that. Can anybody in here I have a problem sticking to a movie. I can't even listen to a song.
Nope.
I'm skipping through it, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can't commitment. What? Imagine someone who has a problem making commitments. Where do they end up long term?
Hell. Like,
I
I'm committed
didn't
to
know.
recovery, but besides that, like, I'm only committed to recovery. Anything else, I like that it comes second. I do like that.
What about someone who makes too many commitments?
That's why I used to get blackout drunk. Like, I
Isn't
just
a
couldn't handle
commitment
it.
to not committing to something a commitment?
Yeah.
Circular.
Yeah.
Committed to freedom.
I have a problem with overcommitting.
Overcommitting?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll put so many things down. Like I tell people, you know, I got you this Friday to work on your car, but I've forgotten that I've already scheduled 4 or 5 other people, and so I have a problem with telling people no that are, you know, that I can't help them.
Mm. Now, bring up a good point. Is there healthy commitments, unhealthy commitments? You know what I'm saying? And is there a balance of commitments? And if there is healthy commitments, unhealthy commitments, maybe balanced commitments, are there commitments that should be a priority above others? Are there commitments that have more quality, that may require more quantity, maybe more time, right? Those are things that I gotta start thinking about. I'm actually going through this right now. I can't do fucking real estate school anymore. I can't do it, dude. I gotta fucking back out. I'm gonna finish part 1. I'm gonna do part 2 when my fucking kids are not newborns. I can't do this, dude. Sitting in my fucking garage, trying to learn while listening to my kids grow up in the other room, missing out on precious time that I should be committing my time to them instead of real estate, dude. So I have a problem. I take too much commitments, dude. And what happens when I take too many commitments? I start missing out on committing to other things. The quality of that commitment diminishes. I get burnt out. I'm not able to give you 100% or you 100%. And the time diminishes because if I have too many commitments, I should be committing more to this and I can't because I'm committing to this and that and this and that and blah, 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 blah. You see people do this in recovery. They're like, I got 5 home groups. I am the basic text coordinator, writer, and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And they got all these fucking things going on, and they don't put the focus in the top commitment or the top priority. All right? All right, we have about 2 more questions we're going to get through, and then we're going to save the rest for Thursday. Have I ever destroyed a relationship because I believed I was going to get hurt anyway?
Yes.
So I should get out before that could happen.
Yes.
Hells yeah.
Describe that situation.
I think Kayla touched it earlier. I rather hurt. No, like I get hurt too much. I've been abandoned. I've been all that crap, right? But when I get into relationships, I look for that and be like, okay, this is gonna happen. They're gonna hurt me, so I'm gonna hurt them first before they hurt me. And so I'm like, okay, don't talk to me. Just ignore me, block you. I don't want to have anything to do with you. And they don't know why. They're like, why are you doing this? Because I don't want to get hurt.
Conflict in the personality.
I've seen it before, yeah. I've seen it before happening.
We were talking about getting married the other day.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden,
It changed.
what the heck? Have I ever destroyed a relationship? Anybody else? Yes.
Oh, I was just saying I have.
What's that? What was that like for you?
Self-sabotage at its finest.
Well,
I don't
what-
like being vulnerable.
Mm.
So I push away. When I start caring, push them away.
How do you push them away? What
I
is
ghost.
ghost? Yep, that's mine. No, all of a sudden, just like no text, no call, no this, no that.
Or I try to get them to push me away so I don't feel guilty for doing it.
So you start like doing behaviors you like hope will push them away.
Yes, and then they get the drift and they start doing it more, and then I'm like, oh, they're hurting me, and I'm like, bitch, you did that first.
What are the behaviors that you start to like
Less communication, less effort, isolating more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's tough, dude. That's a tough cookie to chew on right there. When you realize that, I remember I ended one relationship because I was an addict, and I was like, "You deserve someone else. Get away from me. Get away from me as fast as you can."
It's not you, it's me.
Yep. Yeah, and she did. She was like, "Okay, dude, deuce macoose, dude. I'm out of here, bro." To what degree do I consider the feelings of others in my relationships? Do I consider them equal to my own? More important than my own?
Yes.
Of minor importance? Or not at all?
I think it depends on the state of mind you're in.
Has your consideration of the feelings of others changed since you've been sober?
Oh yeah.
What are the differences between do you consider them equal to your own, more, less than, since being sober versus not being sober? Describe the difference between that.
Well, when I wasn't sober, I had to make up for the fact that I wasn't sober, and so I put other people's feelings before mine, because you're having to deal with my bullshit, deal with my addiction. So I give you a little bit more of, consideration. And now that I'm sober, I'm being selfish. It's about me and my sobriety, and I can balance it a little bit better. I can attend to you and what I need to do as far as relationship with you. But I'm being sober, and I'm being selfish and taking care of myself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Yes.
I've become more empathetic towards people and a lot less judgmental.
Okay. All right. Anybody consider people's feelings an act of addiction?
Not really.
Well, I was drunk all the time, so I'm like, oh no, I don't want them to think I'm a drunk, so let me do everything for them and make me look like a good person.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Similar to that. Anybody not?
I think it depends on the relationship and the person too, right? And how they're conflicting with your addiction. You know what I mean?
So describe.
Like, when I was in active addiction, I wasn't really thinking about my wife's feelings. You know what I mean? And how it was affecting her, because I didn't want to think about it because that would be painful. You know what I mean? But I feel like, people who weren't necessarily like family or close friends, I was still able to care about their feelings, but not as it relates to my addiction.
Were you intentionally hurting her feelings, or were you just not considering them, because you can't, in the pursuit of getting and using and finding ways of using?
Yeah, it wasn't intentional. It was just a consequence of me doing what I was doing. You know what I mean? Go ahead. No, that's it, really.
That's the point I'm trying to make. It's not like we choose to do this. It's like I can't consider it. It's not possible for me at least, an active addiction. I cannot consider your feelings. If I consider your feelings, I'm not getting high.
Right.
Because I'm gonna feel bad. I'm gonna know it's wrong, and I'm gonna have to behave like a maniac just to get that thought out of my head. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have to use a certain amount just to cope with the awareness of how my behavior is impacting your fucking feelings in your life, dude. And then if we're living with the person every single day, aware of that, conscious of it, it's like, dude.
That's why you isolate, because you don't want to be faced with that.
Why we hang out with other people, right? That's why we hang out with people who aren't going to say that, who aren't going to have any problems with it, whether it's in a fucking garage by ourselves, whether it's in a bar with other people, wherever that, and it doesn't even just need to be actually using. I may seek people out who share similar beliefs to what I have. So, or whatever I want, you know what I mean? I talk about this. I say like, well, if you're someone who wants to fix your relationship, don't go talking to divorced people.
Well,
You know
because
what I
it
mean?
helps you, it allows you to justify your actions, right? Like, well, these other folks are doing the same shit.
Going off of the comparison.
Right.
They're doing the same shit as me. You got a fine relationship and you do Percocets. Like, how do I get that? Like, how do I attain what you have and keep Percocets in my life? They're like, Jimmy, I do heroin. I'm like, that's brilliant. I will do heroin. They're like, bro, you drink beer, you fucking idiot. Move to hard booze, dude. You leave your booze in the fridge, put that shit in the toilet, dog. Like, what? And we're like, dude, oh, that's so fucking smart, man. Why didn't I fucking think of that? Instead of not using. Like, discarding that relationship is not even in our list of, like, options. You know what I mean? And that's where, like, the problem plays. Okay. So, we have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, about 13 more questions to understanding relationships. So the activity I had planned for Thursday is going to be postponed to Monday. And we're going to wrap up. It's a 9-hour class, dude, relationships. I'm telling you. I'm giving it to you guys fucking hard. 9 hours of this. We're going to wrap it up. Probably not get to 9 hours. Maybe we'll do another hour and a half of this on Thursday. And then we're going to jump into another one and hopefully wrap that up so that Monday we'll be moving into like assets and ready to kind of have fun and do other stuff. Anybody have any questions on relationships today?
I gotta figure out how to commit.
Huh?
I gotta figure out how to commit to things.
Dude, isn't that nuts? Yeah, I can't commit to anything, dude. So
What's the definition of that? The way in which to.
Oh, relationship.
that's relationships. Yep. So, and as you do your moral inventory, I'm pretty sure we can see a direct correlation by like, if I just remove getting high from the equation, all these things may get better. No guarantee, they just might. So, that being said, class is dismissed. I hope to see you guys Thursday and have a great couple days.
Thank you.
Yes.